And right now at 5 o'clock, we are following some breaking news happening in the Russell neighborhood. Police are working a shooting scene where multiple victims have been reported. We want to get right to our live coverage of this. There is a very active scene at 18th and Ali, and that's where we find Isaiah Kim Martinez. Isaiah, what can you tell us?
Well, Shay, this all happened in the last hour or so. We're told by LMPD 4 people shot. We have a woman shot as well as 3 men, all of whom have been transported to U of L Hospital. I want to show you the scene we're looking at right now. We, of course, see many LMPD cruisers lining along. This is Muhammad Ali. The cross section is 18th, so this is the area. This is the Russell neighborhood. As you can see, the traffic's starting to build up here as we have a very large scene, a good part of it completely taped off. If I take you this way, this parking lot right over here is actually right next to where the Russell, a place of promise, gathers for many of their meetings. This is the parking lot right in front of the Russell apartment building, where you can see many folks lined on the outside, essentially just kind of watching and seeing what's going on. So like I said, very large scene here. Most of this is taped off. So again, the traffic is building up a bit at this time. We do again know that 4 people, according to LMPD, have been shot and have been sent to the hospital. 1 man or 1 woman and 3 men. We don't know too many of the details as to how this all happened. We did have a woman who works nearby this parking lot who said she heard several shots go off in unison, so that gives you a sense of just the violence that took place. We know this morning there was also a shooting on 26th and Market, I believe. So earlier, so this community has already dealt with violence very recently, not far from here at this time. So again, we'll keep you updated. One thing I want to note before we throw it back to the studio, we did notice several people, possibly 3, 4, 5 different what looks to be LMPD detectives here at the scene, because they're not in normal uniform, so that gives you a sense of this scene. We also know that this is non-fatal. The non-fatal shooting squad did report to this scene, so that is who is working this case, at least for right now. Shay.
Got some having nervous breakdowns. I broke down 3 times practicing my run.
Throwing up, shaking, blood pressure is higher. Like it's stressful.
You just heard from current JCPS bus drivers describing how this month's bus issues have made them sick, uncomfortable, and more. We talked to those drivers today, asking them how these 6 days off of school have been and have they been beneficial. Travis Breeze tells us many of them think a repeat of the first day issues is a real possibility.
The drivers I spoke with outside of this bus compound were extremely frustrated. They say the only changes they've had over the last 6 days is more stops being added to their routes. They fear if we do not do a complete overhaul, Monday will be a repeat of the first day of school. Bus drivers have been practicing their routes during their days off school, but many think it's a lost cause. We interviewed a handful of drivers outside of this bus compound Wednesday who say the main issue is crossing all the way across town just to start their routes. In some cases, drivers reported going 30 minutes before picking up a single student. They say Friday might be passable, but Monday, when everyone goes back to school, will be another meltdown.
We're going to be late Friday. I mean, we still got to run our entire routes, because like me, I have a middle and high school route together. I've got to run that whole route because I don't know the middle schoolers and high schools. And then Monday, putting the high school back in the mix and having all 3 on there, it's
going to be the same thing.
These drivers didn't want to go on camera for fear of losing their job. When I asked them about some of the changes JCPS committed to this week, such as using vans to drive students and shoulder buddies to watch GPS for drivers, they said, where are we going to get the staff for that? In Louisville, Travis Breeze, WHAS11 on your side.
Dr. Polio did address the concerns Monday of bus compounds being too far from the schools they service. He said that's not something they can change on a short time frame, but they will look into it over the fall break. Today, the company JCPS used to create the bus route system, Alpha Route, released a new statement. They apologized to JCPS families and explained how they're working to solve the transportation problems. They said we at Alpha Route have been working alongside the district to fix as many issues as possible as fast as possible, so service is greatly improved when schools reopen on Friday. We have had a team in Louisville since Saturday, and we will continue to work in close coordination with the district until service issues are resolved. They also emphasized they never used AI to create the bus routes or stops. They attributed the problems to not accounting for a proper amount of stop time. We have asked the company for an interview multiple times. They continue to deny those requests. Well, for the last few days, organizations across the community have stepped up, offering fun activities to keep kids busy while they're out of school. We know many working families are relying on a whole day of school, not just for the education, but also for the child care. Grace McKenna's highlighting one opportunity that's keeping kids sharp for when they do go back.
A lot of kids already spent their summers at city community centers. Now, plenty of them are also spending the first few days of what would have been the school year here too, waiting for JCPS to go back in class as their parents find them a safe place to go to continue to learn.
Wednesday and Thursday, nonprofit I Would Rather Be Reading put together lessons and engagement for students at 3 community centers. The centers open to be a space for parents to drop off kids who would otherwise be in school. Executive Director Ashley Derringer said the group, along with tutors from Evolve 502, wanted to support their JCPS families who didn't have access to other childcare.
If there's an opportunity for us to open up a space where kids can come and have fun and engage and see their friends that they were here with during summer camp and take that stress off parents so they can get to work or do whatever it is they need to do, then that's what needs to happen.
Derringer said outside of reading interventions, one of the group's main goals is working on social emotional learning. During these days, they'll talk to and engage with students who might have had a difficult first day or be scared about the return to school.
The community centers will be open tomorrow as well for parents who need to drop their kids off. In Portland, Grace McKenna, WHAS 11 on your side.
All 14 community centers open at 9 tomorrow, and the nonprofit I Would Rather Be Reading will be providing services at centers in Portland, Sun Valley, and South Louisville. Well, it was a full house Tuesday night for the first school board meeting since the transportation disaster last Wednesday. Parents and students, also school bus drivers who couldn't get into JCPS headquarters, all stood outside watching the meeting on their cell phones. Some of the biggest developments from that meeting last night include key fobs that will be placed on students' book bags so the bus driver can make sure the student's on the right bus. Also, this Friday, staff members will make sure that the elementary and middle school students know their bus stop and bus number. Students we spoke with outside of the Van Hoos Education Center last night did tell us they still have some concerns.
So it's going to take a long time to learn all these new buses, and they're pretty far. Then half of the time the buses don't come, or they don't come on time like they should be. So I really think we should just keep our old buses.
We also learned the new bus tracking app may or may not be ready for Friday. Instead, it's looking more like next week when parents will have live access to their students' bus location. Dr. Polio said an internal audit team may be useful to help navigate what happened and investigate it, but board members want an outside independent review. Daniel Cameron released his education proposal yesterday. Today, Governor Andy Beshear is sharing his plans for improving Kentucky education if he's reelected in November. Connor Steffen has a breakdown of this new proposal. Connor?
Yeah, Shay, so interesting to note, he reintroduced plans to completely fund student transportation across the Commonwealth, notably blaming Kentucky's GOP-led General Assembly for playing a role in JCPS's current busing blunder.
Everyone.
Taking a clear stance in support of public education.
Our children can't learn if they don't have the resources to do so.
Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear outlining in his next budget a historic 11% pay increase for all Kentucky school employees.
And we cannot remain competitive with other states if we don't pay teachers closer to what they're worth.
Kentucky currently ranks 40th in the nation in teacher pay. Beshear's proposal would boost the Commonwealth to 25th and cost Kentucky $1.1 billion over the next 2 years.
We must have a competitive, world-class system of public education. Getting there requires historic investment.
Amid JCPS's busing disaster, Beshear also reintroduced plans to fully fund student transportation.
Again, we presented that last time to the General Assembly, and unfortunately, they failed to do it. Now we're seeing the impact of that decision.
It's not political, and it's not red or blue. It is a Kentucky issue.
But to accomplish many of these plans, Beshear, if reelected, will need cooperation from a state General Assembly that's been publicly critical of him.
Governor Beshear doesn't respond to anything. You know, we've done things without Governor Beshear. I wish we could do more with him. I wish he'd be on board more often.
He has no serious relationships with the General Assembly. He can't do anything about these problems, but I can. And I will.
Touting his close-knit ties with the GOP-dominated General Assembly, Republican candidate for governor Daniel Cameron unveiled his catch-up education plan Tuesday.
I offered this proposal out of a spirit of humility.
Starting out his announcement with a direct apology to Kentucky teachers.
Sorry for any comments that have made you feel less than valued. Know that this is heartfelt.
In his plan, Cameron outlined goals to develop a 16-week tutoring program for kids who are behind grade level in reading and math. He also wants to raise base starting pay for teachers and bolster classroom discipline.
Now, the cornerstone of the Cameron catch-up plan is addressing learning loss by treating it as the emergency that it is.
It is important to note Cameron's plan does include a pay increase, but only for starting teacher pay. As to where Beshear's proposal includes pay increase for all current school employees. Shay.
All right, Connor, thanks for that important update there. Well, for a comprehensive breakdown of both Governor Andy Beshear and Attorney General Daniel Cameron's education proposals, head to our website. You can read them at WHAS11.com. Taking a look outside right now, another gorgeous afternoon in August across Kentucky, and certainly a good time to get outside and enjoy it because, Ben, as we well know, great weather like this doesn't stick around long in summer.
Especially in mid-August, you're exactly right. And it has been a wonderful Wednesday across the area. Lots of sunshine, low humidity. That is the key this time of the year. And of course, it's going to be a little more uncomfortable to be outside once the next heat wave kicks in. That'll be late weekend and into next week. So several more really nice days. 81 right now, 78 at Bowman Field. Live view here over the Falls of the Ohio and looking out towards southern Indiana with our Honest Day roofing camp. Part of our U of L Health Camera Network. Temperatures area-wide here, mostly in the upper 70s again for today. Some fair weather cumulus clouds, no rain around the Ohio Valley. Really quiet conditions. In fact, very few raindrops in the forecast now through next week. Our low temps tonight, upper 50s to the low mid 60s in the city. And then tomorrow afternoon, a bit warmer as we head into the middle 80s. Notice a little rain chance to the north. That's going to be a mostly dry front that'll pass on through tomorrow night. That'll just reinforce the really nice weather for our Friday. Clear and cool tonight, low forecast 65 in the city, cooler outlying areas, nice and warm tomorrow, 80 degrees at lunchtime, and then a high temperature closer to normal for this time of the year at 87 degrees. We'll watch that heat wave kick in again later in that 7-day forecast. We'll have those details coming up in just a few minutes. Shay.
All right, Ben, thank you very much. Right now, the 2nd Street Bridge is closed in both directions due to this unusual situation. Semi-driver lost his back wheels while coming down the bridge into downtown Louisville. You saw there the front of the truck looks like it slid right off and bent in the middle, and then look at this, the wheels several yards behind. Once again, this is the 2nd Street Bridge, and right now it is actually closed in both directions with crews working hard to get this accident all cleaned up. Indiana State Police have identified a man killed during an exchange of gunfire with police in Jeffersonville. It happened overnight last night on North Shore Drive, right across the 2nd Street Bridge. Indiana State Police Sergeant Carrie Holes said police responded to a welfare check after reports of someone making disturbing comments. Holes said 65-year-old Richard Glass told officers he was armed, which led to Jeffersonville Police, the SWAT team, and state police to stage outside the home. Shortly after, police said Glass began firing at officers and was taken down by a SWAT team member who returned fire.
Eventually, they were able to breach into the apartment and confirm that the suspect had been struck. He was confirmed dead at that time by medical personnel on the SWAT team. Immediately after that, the apartment building was cleared to make sure that there were no injuries. Nobody else in this incident was struck. There were any injuries whatsoever other than the suspect being struck by the SWAT team member.
Sergeant Holes there said the entire incident lasted around 3 hours and that investigation is still underway.